see if this works. I'm trying a tiny microphone today instead of the big ass microphone. Hi, hello, welcome. If you are new here, my name is Deb. I'm a full-time artist. I do a lot of painting, drawing, sketching, you know, all the arty things. You know what I'm talking about. Today, I'm doing an eco-friendly video where I upcycle an old video. It's not that old, it's only a couple months old. That was originally just for my patrons on my Patreon, which is no longer open, which is why I'm offering it here to the world of YouTube. And it's doing a couple sketches in this sketchbook. If I can flip through them. There's a lot of good stuff in here, by the way. I mean, I think. So we're doing a mushroom one. I will be geeking out about mushroom facts and the Fungi Kingdom. This kind of 70s vibe one. Another 70s vibe one. And I will be doing a tour of this sketchbook next week because it's complete. So why not? Why not? Why not? And if you're new here and have never been here before, please like and subscribe if you're into this kind of stuff. And also, I noticed there was a bit of uptick in subscribers. So, hello to my new subscribers. It's so nice to have you here. We're going to have a lot of fun. I can tell. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. One thing I would like to mention is I do talk about during the mushroom painting section in the very beginning, some stuff about that there are medicinal mushrooms out there. Listen, I'm not a doctor. You know this. I think you can tell. I think you know. It doesn't say Dr. Debbie. It says Debbie Ross Funny on the channel. So I think you know that I'm not giving out medical advice. It's just that I'm interested in medicinal, I'm always interested in like natural medicinal things, like, you know, taking, now I can't come up with anything. Let's see. So for example, lion's mane mushroom is supposed to help with your brain cognitive function. That's just one example. Does this mean you should go take this and it's going to solve like all your ADHD problems and possibly completely prevent dementia from happening? No, it does not. This is not my advice to give. And I also do mention that I was listening to, well, it was actually a video, it was many years ago, that Paul Stamets was on the Joe Rogan show, and that's where I first learned about Paul Stamets, who's an American mycologist. And I just wanted to make it real clear, I'm not a Joe Rogan fan. Really want to be clear about that. So, but I am a Paul Stamets fan, super fan, as the kids say, stan, which I still don't understand because I'm like, wouldn't it just be a fan, not a stan? Anyway. I love Paul Stamets and I love the work he does. Anyway, yeah. How many times can I say anyway? All right, so enjoy the video. Have a good time. Get comfy. And I'll see you on the flippity flop. Okay, so for the first spread, I decided to use this Sui, I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced, but it's a gouache. It's the first gouache I ever used. I bought it on Amazon, and I'll link it below. It's actually from an artist. I didn't even know that until later on, but these colors are like really pretty, and I had never used gouache before, and I was really drawn to those colors, and I was really intimidated by the price points of other gouache sets because I had never used it before, and I just wasn't about to go spending like $10 a tube to create a set of my own. So as you can see, it comes with like a color swatch palette and all that. So I'll link it below. I still am on the fence on whether I like that gouache or not. I don't know, there's something about, because gouache always dries darker than
it is when it's wet. So when it's drying, it darkens. With watercolor, the colors lighten. So it's kind of funky. And gouache is kind of a weird medium. It's a cross between sort of like acrylic paint in some ways, because you can make it more opaque. I'm sorry, like my brain is not firing on all cylinders right now. But where watercolor is more translucent, but you can do that with gouache. You can thin it out and make it more translucent. So I had already created a line drawing of some mushrooms here. I love drawing mushrooms. If you've seen any of my sketchbooks and all that, they make a lot of appearances. Fungi are fun and fascinating to me. I like to geek out about mushrooms, and they're just so interesting. I think because I never really paid attention until maybe in the last decade, and I had seen, I don't even know how I came across it, but it was a talk that Paul Stamets was giving. I don't know if it was the Joe Rogan show. Let's not get into whether Joe Rogan is good or bad, because I know a lot of people have opinions. I've actually watched quite a few videos, or just listened to the podcast just because of the guests he has on. I don't necessarily take much of what Joe Rogan has to say with a grain of salt, because, you know, whatever. I'm not getting into any of that. But he has some very interesting guests on, which is the only reason why I'm really tuning in, because I could say the same of a lot of talk show hosts. But anyway, talk show host, that seems like such an antiquated term now, because there's like podcasts or there's like news TV shows. Anyway, so Paul Stamets was on Joe Rogan. I believe that's the first time I saw him. And he was talking about mushrooms and the medicinal effects, and in particular, he was talking about turkey tail mushrooms. At the time, so I want to say this was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. My mom had been diagnosed with bladder cancer, and she's fine right now. She's totally in remission. But he was talking about the anti-cancerous properties of turkey tail mushrooms, and how when his mother had cancer, he kind of put her on a regimen. This wasn't, he was like, oh, to be clear, like, go with your doctor's orders and listen to what they have to say. But in addition, because she was so frail, and she was like in stage 4 of her cancer, I believe it was breast cancer, and he had put her on like 8 capsules of turkey tail mushroom every day, in addition to the kind of mild treatments. I don't know if they could do like full-on chemotherapy or radiation with her, because she was in such a delicate state, and she ended up getting better, like against all odds, like frail, stage 4, in like her 70s or 80s. I mean, so whether that was like a miracle, whether it was the mushroom medicine, whether it was the Western medicine, or a combination of all of the above, I was hooked and fascinated, like, wow. And when he talked about things like how you can use fungi to help save the bees, like there are certain fungi that are helping insects that we need to survive, like bees, and that can help clean up oil spills. There's just, my mind was blown. It's still blown. And how people are using them for, like reishi, for balancing hormones, and, this, and all the studies about things like psilocybin and how they can help people with anxiety and depression. And really, that's originally how psilocybin, well, not originally how it was used, but when they were studying it back like in the 50s and 60s, like when they were studying things like LSD, psilocybin, things like that, they were helping people who had addictions like alcoholism, and helping people go through therapy with that and help disrupt the default mode network that is common with people with addictions or obsessive thinking, all that kind of stuff. It's so interesting to me how this could possibly be things that could help people that are so desperate and in need of medical treatment, whether that's physical or mental. And I just, and that they're all types of fungi should really be treated with respect, because they could hurt you, they could harm you, they could help you. So it's like, they're fascinating, they're a little scary. They're a powerful thing, and they are not to be trifled with. I should have just said truffled with, because what a cool pun that would have been, but I'm gonna stop. The mushrooms that I'm painting here and drew were, I used a couple reference photos, so they look a little bit unrelated, like these two groups of mushrooms. The ones on the left are kind of like fantasy colors, and I don't know if it was like some type of Amanita, which is like a toadstool type, which there's different types of Amanita. There's Amanita muscaria, Amanita, I think Maoli, which is like a yellow. And we actually have those that grow right next to my house every fall. So I look for them. So they basically look just like the Mario mushroom, except yellow with white spots. There's also the Amanita, I don't remember what the white one is called, but it's the death cap. I believe it's the death cap. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, I'm kind of like, I don't know much about mushrooms in comparison to people that really do, that are mycologists, but I'm so fascinated. I like to geek out about it. It's so interesting. Could you tell by me talking about it here that I find it interesting? I hope this wasn't boring for you. So, okay, so, and then on the right, those are supposed to be porcinis. I don't think I put enough shading in there. The stems all sort of merge together. The only reason you can tell any difference really is from the line drawing that I did ahead of time with a black pen. I used I believe it's pronounced Staedtler. Staedtler. It's like Staedler pen for line drawing that, because it is waterproof. Because I had used a Bravo Pilot pen, or Pilot Bravo. What is it called? I don't have it in front of me, so now I can't remember. But it's a lovely, inky, juicy pen. Only it's not waterproof. So then I'll forget, and then I'll paint over it, because I won't remember what pen I used. So I've been trying to use the Staedtler pen more often, if that means anything to you. So there it is, finished. And I felt iffy about the way it turned out. Not because I didn't think it looked good or anything like that. I tried to be careful with the gouache, but gouache can get muddy, and I felt like it turned out a little bit muddy. But that's okay. All of these pages, these spreads that I'm doing here, weren't necessarily my favorites. And what I mean by that is, I don't think they were bad. I don't think they were amazing. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things about them that I like. But I'm trying to be a little less precious with things. I'm really, really trying. So, because if I keep being, and what I mean by being precious is that being like, oh, so careful and making it look, oh, just right. I have a habit to get way too attached to how the outcome is going to be. And that's where perfectionism creeps in. And when perfectionism takes over, you're either going to drive yourself mad trying to make things look right and be upset about it and have a temper tantrum about the fact that it doesn't look how you pictured it in your head. You can't get it out on the paper like that. Or you're going to feel like paralyzed, and you're not going to proceed and keep going. The whole point of a sketchbook, I think for most people, and I'm trying to include myself in this in most cases, is to get all the good, bad, and ugly art out there. It doesn't have to be good. It's just practice. But I do like to make something that looks nice. That's just I like doing that. And I think a lot of people do. But I have so much respect and admiration for people when I see their sketchbooks that look like a hot mess, and you're going, what is this? What is that? And then you see all a sketchbook is for a lot of people, not everyone. Some people make like really perfectly curated sketchbooks. That's fine too. That's like, it's your sketchbook, it's your art practice, and you can do what you want, and you should. It should be a place to play and have fun. And if you want to make something pretty, that's fine. If you want to make something messy and just work out ideas in your head, it's made for that too. But I'm trying to get a little more in the habit of playing around. And with this spread here, I was looking at like 70s kitchen stuff, like kitchenware and wallpaper patterns, and that's kind of a go-to for me. Is I will always look at like 60s, 70s, sometimes 50s, but a lot of times like what was it called? The like atomic mid-century modern. Oh my God, there it is. I was fishing around. I'm like, it's in there. The term is in my brain. I just gotta dig it out. So I'll use that for inspiration a lot of times when I'm looking at patterns and like stylistic stuff. And I also love like really colorful, wild, Art Nouveau, psychedelic, that kind of stuff. I've always been drawn to that, like even when I was a kid. And I didn't appreciate the color palette of like what I have here, this like super 70s, like brown, orange, yellow. Like as a kid, I hated that kind of stuff. I really hated it. I think because it was everywhere, and I was like, I wanted to see rainbows. Like I wanted, blues and reds and pinks and greens and stuff like that. Like, and which was like totally 80s, which, that I guess I was just ahead of my time when I was a little girl in the late 70s. I was craving those pastel colors, and boy did they come through in the 80s. They came in hard, and they were everywhere. So, but I don't know if it's like a longing for my early childhood days that brings me to this like wanting to look at like 60s, 70s stuff. It's interesting why I don't know why I'm drawn to that, but I just am. In this next spread, I had found a photo, I think on Instagram, it may have been Pinterest, but it was like a 70s room, like an interpretation of a 70s room. It was like very obvious, like this person collected some things from like the 80s and 70s maybe, and put them together to make like a retro looking corner of a room. And it was just really cute. And so I took some of the elements of that and put that in this. Like it wasn't 100% what the picture looked like, but it was heavily inspired by this. Like there was a phone. I think it might have been orange. It may have been yellow. I honestly don't remember, because it's like I drew it out in pencil and then I made up the colors on my own. So I kind of went with that sort of, it's like 70s teenage girl room. Like this is what I was kind of imagining, like, some of the elements I was kind of reminded of my sister's room when I was growing up. I thought she had the best bedroom in the world. She had like flower wallpaper, not flowers like the ones that you'll see here, but it was like bouquets of flowers. It was like it was like a mostly white background, but it was like bouquets of flowers and just very 70s looking. And she had a chandelier that was like daisies. Like she had a chandelier hanging from it. It was like green and pink and yellow. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember finding something similar, it was like out of nowhere. Someone had said like, oh, look at this cool chandelier I found, like someone who was vintage shopping. And it was almost like my sister's from her bedroom growing up. And when I looked up the price, like that people were asking for similar things on eBay and stuff, it was like $500, $600, $700, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I called my mom and I'm like, what did you ever do with that flower chandelier? Like, I wanted it back, you know. I never got a chance to have it because by the time that she had moved out and went to college and I took over her room because she had the bigger bedroom, we had installed fans, ceiling fans, and you know, they're just usually not that exciting. They're no flower bouquet or, you know, daisy chandelier. It can't compare, you know what I mean? And then drawing this lava lamp here made me long for my old lava lamp. Yeah. And that's all I have to say about it, really. I heard someone talking once, since I'm drawing this with Posca pens, about kind of the debate of when you are using Posca markers. Are you technically painting? Which, it sounds like a dumb question, right? And then I knew what they meant when they were bringing it up, but this artist was like making a lot of art with Posca pens, and she was, her name is Just Another Ada. She's on YouTube, and she makes most of her work is Posca, and some of it is digital, and sometimes she's using like traditional paint that, you know, like acrylic paint or something. But a lot of it is like very precise Posca marker pieces that she's like really, they're very well thought out pieces. Like, they're very neat, very precise, and they're really lovely. And she had said, I remember in one of her videos, like she wondered, like, I don't know if I can technically call this painting because they're markers and I'm drawing, but it is on a canvas. And then it's like, it was this idea, and I thought, why do we get so hung up on things? I don't think it was a silly question that she was asking herself, but it's kind of like when people wonder, can I call myself an artist because I make cartoons? Is that really art because it's not fine art? You know, people get really hung up on these labels and what we call things. Like, is artwork that you put in a sketch just a sketch, or can it be a finished piece? Could it be artwork? I don't know. There's a lot of questions and things that we bring up that we get hung up on, and it's kind of weird when you think about it. It's like, it's paint coming out of a marker, so technically it's painting, but it's in a marker form and you're holding it like a pencil, so you're kind of drawing. But also, why does it matter what it is? It just is what it is. So I'm drawing / painting with Posca pens in this. I do like the way the flowers turned out in this. I like all the colors in this. I just wasn't super duper crazy about, I guess, the composition. So like the layout of this whole thing, I'm like, you know, like if I were going to turn this into a big art piece, a freestanding art piece, like not in a sketchbook, I'd probably change it up a bit. But I had fun with this. I remember getting pretty frustrated about halfway through and feeling like I wanted to throw in the towel with it, but there's something in me that just, I'm like a dog with a bone. When I start something, like, I'm determined to finish it. I think that's why I finish sketchbooks even when maybe I'm having a bad time or I have terrible paper in a sketchbook. It's like, I can't just let it go unfinished. It's a good thing and a bad thing, I guess, for certain things. So you decide. But I had fun with this piece, thinking about, like, if I were, 12 years old, this would be a fun room to be in. But anyway, I want to thank you once again for hanging out with me, for watching the video, for being a patron. It means so much. Okay, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that and that you had a nice little watch and you like the art. And I really like a lot of the art that I made in here. So, a sneak peek of colors? Look at all those colors.
I am excited to show you the sketchbook tour of this entire sketchbook next week. So be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss that. And I will see you on the next one. And I hope you go make something fun. Draw, doodle, whatever. All right. Bye.